New window real quick. Hey,
And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to episode 13 of Q News. We got lots of stuff coming on tonight. We got news. That's what I wanted to close out. All right. So, yeah, we got news going on this week, and those are some of the things that I want to talk about, not least of which being the what would we call the independence of Donetsk and Luhansk in Ukraine. And then we got Canada, them doing emergency powers, which is worse than martial law, seizing property and everything else, and attacking people who actually donated. So this is bizarre. However, today we got Mud Rabbit, we got Angel, and we got Combat Carl. How are y'all doing today?
it's a beautiful day. It's an exciting 222
Doing good.
22022022. Now that this is a funky day, absolutely. So yeah, you had well. Let's start off with Combat Carl. Let's go. Oh, let's open up your Telegram, and the first thing we got there is an HU exclusive. Explain to me what you got one on there, Combat.
All right, so Hollywood Unlocked with over 2.8 million followers has been releasing uh, uh, data saying close sources that are close to the royal family notified them exclusively that Queen Elizabeth has officially passed away. She was scheduled to attend the wedding of the British Vogue editor Edward Enninful, but was found dead. The story is developing, and anyway, so we've heard rumors of this over and over and over and over and over again for the past few weeks. But there was hold on, there was some Q drops. You know what? I didn't post them. Dadgummit.
Well, I do
That was
recognize if they said when the queen goes down, that was when the cabal goes down or something like that. It was
Oh yeah,
pretty.
it
right.
starts with the Queens. Watch the Queens.
So
Um,
here it is. So this was forwarded from Whiplash 347. It says the dead queen will be coming down in a wild aircraft accident, as I showed you in Capital Mike Green's decode. Basically tells you it's the trigger for this fake World War III event. It links the EAM loyalists. It's all about the crown dissolving, Taboo Act of 1871 of England reversal, Corona equals crown, you become king, you disband the queen. Um, and there's so much more that goes into this fall of the queen. And what he was referring to is that the queen is supposedly going to die in a plane crash that will be shot down by a Ukrainian or a Russian missile, and that is going to invoke World War III.
See, I thought COVID was going to be used as the excuse to eliminate people, have their judgment uh,
Well, that's
enforced.
something totally that's, we're just using the symbolism. I'm
Okay,
talking about the symbolism. The corona equals crown.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
So her, yeah, okay.
So what are they
I
going to
don't.
do? Put her body on a plane and shoot it down?
No, it doesn't have to be her body,
Oh,
but they
because
can.
see,
What
technically,
they'll do
nobody
is
nobody
have it.
knows she's dead yet, so they can be transporting the body. The plane gets shut down. Her dead body gets shut down. They're saying, "Oh my God, she was alive. She's dead now."
I mean, we heard
Yeah,
rumors
but
of her
channels
death
like us will push it out there.
months ago, months ago, and they,
Yeah, yeah.
well, a month ago. So, it doesn't matter when she actually dies. It's they're going to use her death as
It's a
an act.
marker. It's a marker. Because it
As a
doesn't
marker.
matter. It doesn't matter when it actually happened. They make sure that they coordinate the information getting out, and they
Right.
coordinate it along with their messages, along with their signaling and everything else. So the reason I wanted to start off with that one because the Queen going down is big, because that means the
Oh,
end of all the majority of that shit, and it's just dominoes after that. And then we got the Queen's handmaid up in Canada, doing all kinds of crazy stuff up there. What are they calling her? Brenda, I guess, would be Brenda Castro. Oh, that's I made that comment in yours, Todd, right?
Right.
All right, so fill us in on the totalitarian in Canada.
Angel, that's you.
No, I'm just. I was at work, so I'm just.
You look too comfortable, brother.
I know.
We had to wake you up, get you integrated. After all, it was
I don't know the woman's name that they're replacing. Is my understanding?
it's branded. It's kind of like it's kind of like the title to this program. It's the truck that was there in Canada, and I couldn't actually fit the entire truck on the picture because it had the Pepe clown honking his nose, going honk honk, and it was a beautiful mock-up. But it's Let's Go Brandon and Truck Trudeau.
Trudeau.
And so that was the Brandon thing. Now we know that even though Sleepy Joe likes to sniff kids and everything else, he's married and that sort of stuff. So, but Justin,
reminded
he's just out there. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you brought up Biden, and I think the biggest, there's video of him. They got a new puppy because his last dog kept biting everybody, and he's walking off Air Force One, and trying to get the untrained dog into the car, and he kicks it hard to force it into the car.
Of course,
jerking it by the leash.
No one's talking about it.
Of course, they're not going to talk about it. He's an abusive, racist little fuck, but nobody wants to talk about it because he's their puppet man, and he's got to remain clean so that they can continue to pull the strings in the background, even though everything's going to a shitter. And I don't know. I'm not even in the States. I'm down in Brazil, so what the fuck do I know, right? But still, I keep up with just about everything. It's almost like as if I were there, except more rain. But that's a whole nother thing. It's very interesting what was done in Canada, and I would like somebody to tell me how that was actually possible. I would say it's martial law, these emergency powers, but Mud Rabbit, you said it's more than martial law.
It's not martial law when they're closing down your bank accounts. That's not what martial law means.
So what is it?
This is his Emergency Powers Act. It's not martial law. It's just locking everybody down arbitrarily.
What kills me is if you have this Emergencies Act, there has to be a guideline and stipulations written up on where these powers come from. And to me, it's been made up because presidents can't make executive orders, governors can't make laws. Everything has to go through legislation.
Yeah,
none of it is constitutional.
Well, they've already petitioned the emergency.
They've already got it.
You have no grounds.
Oh, they're already bringing lawsuits.
But see, it doesn't really matter if it's legal or not. If you comply, that's the whole point.
Yep.
Because if it was legal, oh well, I must comply because some orchestrated corporate entity of influence is telling me that it really does matter for me and I must comply.
It goes against the Canadian Constitution, their bills.
It does.
Right.
But see,
nothing's stopping the enforcement of it. I mean, that's the thing. It's it's like Biden and his executive orders that are unconstitutional. It's like these mask mandates. They're unconstitutional. But it's going to take us years
down until somebody sues them.
Right. But even still, it's taking years for us to fight it, saying no, you can't do this. This is wrong. But it's not stopping them at all. They're just rolling forward like a bulldozer, and you're in front of the bulldozer pushing on it, saying no, stop. They overpower you because the police force. This New World agenda, it's New World Order agenda it's going to be steamrolled forward, and you can try to legally stop it as much as you want. It's not going to stop it.
Those people are going to push what they're going to push.
Well, what gets me is that these so-called police. Now, it's been always stated that they were going to try and push these UN troops. Now, someone made a point that there's a monkey works that
Yep.
Right.
he didn't see a lot of planes with the potential of UN troops. More so, they're in Africa. But if by chance they are already maybe underground means of transportation, to me it seems like the police that are out there are UN, and they don't have any jurisdiction, so they're taking people 20 minutes away from the protest, and then they let them go and just say see ya, at the mall, whatever, and then these people have
I
to.
saw that story because they can't legally arrest somebody, but
Right.
they like to make a show of it because it's about intimidation and making others comply.
Right.
It's kind of like there's this meme that I saw a couple of years back to where there's this politician on the end of a plank, right? And he's talking over the edge of a cliff, and everybody's standing on the plank, right? And they're all listening and complying with what the politician's saying, and somebody just chooses to walk away. When everybody walks away from the plank shifts and the politician falls over the cliff. That's the whole point. Turn your back on them. Let them know, no, it's not your country, your planet. It's ours. And like what was it, the grasshoppers in the movie Ants, um, you got Frank, quite frankly, loves to use this meme all the time. Um, it's about their way of life. If we realize that we're more powerful than they are and they have no power over us, then their entire way of life collapses. So it's
Just step
about,
off that plank.
I was kind of curious too. What would happen if these UN troops try to come into us? You shoot one. How do you get prosecuted, and how does that work? Because they're not legal. They're
they're
not.
not legal and they're not police and they are not executing. It would have to be an international court. And then you would have to argue after you've had 25 other snipers come in and take your ass out. Then you can try and defend yourself against the international elite. I don't know how they're going to be doing this stuff. I have no idea. That's one of the reasons I'm down in
I
Vietnam.
honestly think they don't want to chance it here because our weapons have not been removed. And there are people, I mean, some people might have a gun here and there, some people might have something else here and there. But if you think of all the different types of things people can use to defend themselves, they don't want to go through that.
Right. And then you think about the fact that the United States, where are all the hunters mostly located? On the
Absolutely.
In flyover country.
right, and also along the border of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we have MS. Well, I mean, sorry, not MS-13.
And between Florida
We
and
have
Texas, the owners
gangs.
of these
We have
firearms
we have
are-
small cliques and gangs in every city, even tiny small towns. You have these hoodlum thugs, and they have an arsenal.
Yep. And do you think they're going to take anything from these people?
No, because they're actually going to be used by the government to intimidate the law-abiding citizens, the ones who actually try and live their lives. It's
That's
kinda
what
like in
they
the city.
planned, but if the UN steps foot, they're going after them because they're not going to have their hoods taken over.
And then we'll unify.
Yep.
They
You
no,
bet.
they'll
And they're a
they'll
lot
cap
more
their ass.
organized than your typical veteran or hunter, as you want to call them. They have they're these small cliques and clans. They're organized. They
Yep.
they have a central chain of command, and they have their own communications, and they've been doing this for a very, very long time. But UN troops step on American soil. That's an act of war. That's a war against the American people.
Mhm.
So and most Americans are aware of this. So I
We
don't.
still have our Constitution and we still have our Second Amendment. They have not been able to take that away from us. Had Hillary been voted in, that would have been gone by now.
Oh, that was her first agenda. I mean, Obama
Yep.
was trying it for years, and all those Fantastic Freddies, those events that are created to elicit a response, all of those things were done so that we would give up our self-defense, and
Right.
nobody fell for it. Thank God. We see Australia and New Zealand gave up their self-defense. Look at the situation they're in right now. Why they got jackboot thugs just coming in and doing whatever. And in Canada, you got men on horseback. I mean, we're going back to the Middle Ages. They brought in the cavalry to run over You know,
Little old ladies and walkers.
that's just
But
one. They ran over two or three.
yeah,
But it's just you don't go in. The police aren't there to harm their own people. That's not the focus of the police. They're there to protect and serve, supposedly. But like we found out in New York, they're there to protect and serve the property owners and the ones who pay their paychecks.
Yeah, but
Not
money
realize.
talks, and they're paying these guys overtime for riot
Yeah, but
control.
they're also in a club too, and it's a
Yep.
Freemason.
And a
And
lot of them are Masons, right? Exactly. And Masons have an agenda to make sure things run out exactly as the scriptures say on us.
but these people are lower level, and they're still human, and
Right.
there has to be a point where
If you
some
want to, if you
people.
want to be, it's kind of like a fraternity. If you want to be part of the group, you follow the leadership's commands. Why? Because they know more and they're making sure that everybody's taken care of. Because if you need help, you just call on this brother and that brother, and they're obligated to help you because they're brothers. They got no choice. They're going to help you. Hey, I need to bury, I need to hide a body. Hey, John. Hey, Malcolm, help me out. Fuck you. I'm not going to, yo, brother, help me out. They do it because they have
well,
to.
one thing I was actually surprised of is, you know, okay, so on this UN plane thing, UN. All right, so in Canada, they were talking about U.S. UN planes being on the tarmac, and then what's this? Jordan Sather came in and said, "Don't people aren't doing the research. These UN planes have been on this airport for a very long time,
Mhm.
but to try to pretend that people aren't doing their research." But word on the ground in Canada is there are a lot of German speaking, non English speaking police officers in police uniforms that, don't belong in their country.
And they're hiding
So,
their badges.
and they're hiding their badges. So, we know that uh,
Let me ask
foreign,
you a question. If for somebody who doesn't speak anything but basic English, how different would Russian or German sound to you?
to anybody with a strong English accent is, my wife can't understand
No, but
people
what I'm saying is, how
They
would you
Louisiana
sound
know?
different to me.
probably different accent.
I recognize the
They
difference
speak
between all
English.
those accents, but because I know those. However, my question would be: would a normal person be able to distinguish between a Russian accent or a German accent? Because they said it sounded German, but was it?
Well, they didn't speak English. They spoke a foreign language. They said that it sounded German to them.
Yeah, Russian
So
is a little harsher.
it's a big difference. There's
But
a
it's Germanic. They could have been
I've been all
Danes
over
as
the
well.
world. There's a huge difference in tone, and
Oh, I
words.
recognize the differences. That's me, but I'm not saying. I'm just trying to speculate. Not everybody recognizes those linguistic differences. I mean,
No, but
that's
people
something.
who understand or hear more than one language a day could probably see the difference.
No,
And you
yeah,
have up there
absolutely.
French Canadians and Canadians that speak English. So they probably hear the distinction. I don't speak anything but English, but I hear the distinction because I'm exposed to Arabic and Spanish all day
Okay,
long.
so in that case, we've got German troops wearing UN badges on American soil.
Not UN badges, no, Canadian police badges.
Yeah.
But then the other question would be
They're in Canadian police
you-
uniforms.
if they approach you, you have a legal right to still ask for their credentials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not going to
Yeah,
give it.
but are you going to ask somebody that's going to billy club your head if you actually open your mouth?
Yeah, on the basis
Video.
that they're starting to arrest you, yeah, I would like to see their credentials.
I
Granted,
also heard that after they arrest them, they drive them 20 minutes away, uncuff them, and drop them off because
Right.
they can't charge them.
Yeah, that's what Angel had said earlier, and we saw some of those things as well. However, if you are problematic and they actually search you out, like they did the one that the one of the there was a woman whose face was shown on one. I think Luke Lewandowski showed the fact that she was crying on camera because she knew she was going to get arrested the next day. She was one of the people that set up the convoy towards Ottawa, right? And so she's facing 10 years, and a liberal judge today said that she has no right to bail And so she's going to rot in there as long as they want. There is no
Yeah, they're
being.
going after anyone they perceive as a leader, which I think was the first
No,
mistake, was being
everybody.
a
There
leader.
was a woman on Waters' show, Jesse Waters, to where he interviewed her, and she was talking about she donated $250 out of her own personal paycheck, and they're coming after the family business, which is run by her, her husband, her two kids, and uncle, and some other family members that have focused on this for years. And she, out of her own pocketbook, decided, like she said, to keep somebody from freezing to death in sub 30-degree weather. So they gave them gas money for them to keep on going, and for that she's being attacked. She was doxxed, and they're coming after everybody that doesn't agree with him. This is exactly what the Maoist revolution did. This is exactly what they did in Venezuela. You had the red shirts in Venezuela that came out and they just beat the crap out of anybody who spoke anything against Hugo Chavez. And we also see the brown shirts back in the 30s doing the exact same thing. And who's to say that Antifa ain't going to be doing the same fucking thing here in the U.S.? They haven't, because nobody goes out
I'm betting
anymore.
their banks will fail after this, because anybody who wasn't involved in donations is going to see what's happening and want to get their money out of the big banks, and that's probably why they had to shut them down.
Oh, but we also have a stock market crash,
Yep.
not just in Russia. Theirs crashed like 20-25%, some crap like that. But everything else. And we've got, even the crypto dropped, it's on a dip, it's going to go up eventually. Yeah, sure.
And people have been buying precious metals and stashing cash, so people are prepared.
Oh, and property. Holy shit. The biggest property owner is Vanguard. That's why you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, because you'll be renting everything for.
But that leads to, are we heading toward the Great Reset, which is their game plan?
Yeah, that's their game. However, we got the Great Awakening, and then we got the Great Restart, or something else. What would Q call that?
It is a reset. Well, I mean, it's a great reset. I mean, it's just whoever wins this war,
he's going to let them take it
determines
right
how
at the very
the new
end,
future.
when they think they've got it all.
You also have the phrase, "Why stop an enemy in the middle of destroying himself?"
Right. I mean, with as much exposure as all of these nasty tricks that they're doing, like freezing bank accounts and assaulting innocent people. The police are supposed to protect people. No, the police are the long arm of the deep state's enforcement. They don't give a fuck about people. And the sooner people realize that, the better. Because right now, I mean, our local law enforcement, for most small towns in middle America, they're not going to support tyrannical bullshit. I mean, you could tell which ones are and which ones aren't. But when you start, bringing in foreign troops and dressing them up as local PD,
oh fuck no,
they're not going to. You can, my thing is you listen to these protesters plead with the police officers. Look, I gave up my job. I'm sacrificing everything, even my well-being and my family and my income and everything, to stand against this tyrannical law. You can do the same. Just turn around and face your former police officers. Stand with us. And you get these stone cold looks, which, I'm sorry, once if you don't have the
basic humanity,
if you're not military. See, military is governed by my, federal law and UCMJ. So if the military, the penalty is death if they do it. All right. But a civilian police officer, he just loses a paycheck and credibility within the law enforcement, maybe, at the worst. So they don't face
I would remind these police officers that they're next, because once they handle all of us little people, those are the next ones they get rid of, because they're the strong arm. Same thing that happened in Germany.
And if I can add this, I mean, I might be sidelining a little bit, but we kind of agreed that the number 17, they kept saying that this is basically a show. So I have two theories about that. One,
what are those?
that that we actually, with Project Looking Glass, their ability to foresee the, future timeline, that they already know how all this is going to end, and that they have the white hats or alliance, however you want to call them,
Hold
actually have
on.
raw control of things, but they still want humanity to wake up. They still want humanity to be the ones that feel that they accomplished this task of standing up and waking up. In other words, little things, well, not little things, startling, for instance, being shot down, taken down. Okay, that's a controlled situation because if they would have gotten their way there, they would have had an abundance of control. So that didn't work out. There's some little key operations that they're taking care of that we don't know about, but they still want to keep humanity on its edge to wake up and stand up. Now, the other narrative would be that the alliance fell apart. A percentage of them took the money, chickened out, and now it is left up to humanity to stand up. So those two narratives that are potential.
Well, see, one of the things is that they can set all the pieces on the chessboard up, but the ones that the power doesn't rest with any one of those individuals or groups. They only get their power from us. And what we need to understand, and what they've been saying, you can't tell the people what's going on. You've got to show them, because the majority. I mean, I've been reading about this. I've been knowing about this for a very long time. In the last takedown in 1982, that woke my ass up. When I had to turn everything in back to the bank, I mean, that really screwed me up. And so I knew that any government could play with your money at any moment. And then I would listen to the stories of my grandmother and my great grandmother, and how time after time, generation after generation, the banks come in and just grab your shit. Fuck you, there's an emergency, there's a war, or there's a crisis, or there's some kind of excuse that they'll come up with, but your shit's gone and it's theirs.
And or you can't go to the bank and take money out or large sums of money. You'll have everybody down your throat. You
Yeah.
know, why are you doing this? Are you leaving the bank or what? I
No,
mean,
actually, they won't allow you to even take it out. For example, we had back in '82, we had a house in Oklahoma. We had $1,100 a month mortgage payments, and my dad was renting equipment down in Mexico. We were making about 3 grand a month, so it was good times. Then there was a devaluation. The peso went from 25 to 150, so it's like a 5-time devaluation. It's like 1 to 5, and the government's nationalized the banks to where you used to be able to have accounts in pesos and in dollars, um, and they nationalized all the dollars and they transferred the currency by their exchange rate, which was half of what the black market exchange rate was, basically taking half your shit in the exchange rate and transferring over to pesos. And then you would have the inflation from the devaluation of the currency, which would basically eat away at the shit that you had in your reserves in your bank account in pesos. Okay, so everything you got in one way or another gets sucked away and eaten up by the system,
Mm-hmm.
because they got a way to simply do away with your shit legally without you even fucking noticing it. You do, but there's nothing you can fucking do about it until you wake up and say, this motherfucker holding my cash isn't taking care of my cash. My effort to help humanity, to help others, that's what your job is. Your
Well, the
job
biggest
is.
problem with all of
Go ahead.
this, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I really don't. I mean, but the biggest problem with all of this banking bullshit, this horribly corrupt banking system is, you've got the sheriffs and the police officers that go to enforce it. They know it's wrong and they're like, well, my hands are tied. But when you go to defend your property from being stolen by these corrupt systems, you have to defend yourself against the law enforcement and not the corrupt bank systems.
Yep. Because
So
you
you're
never
going
face the
after the
king or the
wrong people.
princes. You're always facing the soldiers. And see, that's the
I'd
thing.
like to address below Frey's comment.
Go ahead.
Below Frey
Which
said,
one?
my
This one?
family knows
This
about
one right
bank
here?
closing bullshit or paying a grocery bag full of cash for eggs and bread. I'm watching this happen to my family in the Middle East, in Lebanon. It's You send them $100 and it's gone in a day. Everything has gone so far up in price in these other countries. I mean, we don't notice it because we're over here, but
Oh,
over
but you
there,
will.
it's the same thing. They're paying bags of cash for a loaf of bread.
See, the thing is that that's what happens when you don't have a reserve currency, because you are dependent on the good faith of others. And that's what happened in 82.
Yep.
82, the pound sterling went to shit. And so everybody got skippy. And they said, every emerging market, I don't trust anybody, and I'm going to collect my money. And so the entire emerging market saw their liquidity dry up. Now, whose liquidity never dries up? Reserve currencies. So the US dollar means that you can have 4%, 6% interest rates a year on housing. I never got that. Dad had to pay 12%. Why? Because his credit rating was shit. But anyway, you have that available whenever you have a reserve currency, a currency to where it won't fall because everybody's dealing in it. All right. Now, you don't get that in the Brazilian real or the Mexican peso or the Venezuelan bolivar or the Russian ruble, even less, or the Chinese yuan. They don't even allow it. They put in what they're going to put in, and you're going to accept their edict or else, period. And so the majority of countries throughout Latin America have to deal with paying bags of cash every couple of generations just to put a loaf of bread on the table or a chicken in the pot, because that's the reality of the world not giving a shit about you. Now, the problem is the US has been the reserve currency for a very long time, at least 2 generations, most likely 3, and we don't remember what it's like to live like the rest of the world does. But the US is about to face that because it's no longer the number one power. The banking system is about to crash. It's going to be a fucking free for all for currencies everywhere. They're all going to be floating, and there ain't going to be a reserve currency because the petrodollar is dead, which
Yep.
means that Americans are going to have to live with their debt like the rest of the fucking world. And that is a scary proposition.
I saw something. I watched a low budget, really horrible movie, but it was this guy, Latino guy who looked so much like Charles Bronson. So that was the capture. So I went through the film. Basically, it's about a corrupt prison system that was laundering or moving drugs, and the police had this guy and wanted him to go in and basically infiltrate this. At the very end of the film, after all was said and done, they they basically approached him with a phone as how they're trying to get him in to join, and that he would be paid off with cryptocurrency. He puts his finger on the phone. They had X amount of dollars, like 100,000 or whatever, and then they went through great detail trying to explain how you can use crypto. And I'm like, okay, why are you doing this? If the movie had nothing to do with that, why would they focus there? And see, what I'm getting at is that I feel crypto is the Illuminati's new source, and that's the move they want to go into. And
That's
that's
why they
probably
don't want
what
us
they
to
use that.
have it.
So I'm very suspicious about crypto to the highest degree, and the direction that this great reset. They want to do this war thing or whatever. They want to push the war button, and yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the game plan is coming up here. They got a game plan, you know. And then,
Yeah,
of course,
there's,
are we close
you
to
know,
see yet with the truckers?
The truckers pulled out. They released the blockades, but they're still being hunted, and that's what we're seeing. That's the biggest complaint because the truckers conceded, but the government continues to be brutal with anyone. If you are
This is
in
not
Ottawa,
martial law, then.
I'm
if
talking about the U.S. truckers. Aren't they heading to D.C.?
oh yeah, but some people were saying that I was reading I was watching a couple of newscasts the night before last
I think some
to
are
where they
already at the border.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, they were supposed to have a convoy setting up from California and going to D.C. However, what do we have outside the ports of California waiting? We have boatloads and boatloads of containers coming from China in the majority of them because it's the West Coast.
Mhm.
And so now there's this thing called, that's been around for a couple of years, called containerized weapon systems.
Yeah. Well, why do you think they're making all those ships sit off there? They're sitting there with them.
Well, who's to say that some of those didn't get off and they're getting on trucks going to DC now?
That
See,
too.
that's what some people are speculating, and that's one of the things that I'm like, oh fuck, I hadn't thought about that. Shit. Something else to make your mind explode.
Yeah, because we have people that are playing by the rules going up against people who can just totally, you know,
Play
Ignore
by
the
no
rules.
rules.
Yeah.
The only rule that they play by is nobody can find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Right? We've got tens of thousands of Chinese troops right on the other side of the border. And if you're afraid of Mexico, sorry, it's fucking Canada.
Yeah. Canada, and you've got others down in Mexico. I wouldn't
Oh,
doubt it. You've
you
got the
do.
container
Well, in
ships
fact,
mixed with the shippers out there.
the only state from Mexico that's allowed to export avocados to the United States is Michoacan.
Did you see what they found in those avocados?
Tell
Oh
us,
my God.
Rabbit. Tell me
I
what
was
you
just
found.
They seized a shipment of avocados coming in from Mexico, and customs showed it. And this was, I believe, on the Mexican side. They caught them before they entered the country. They cut them open, and the seeds were too big and they were lumpy. So they picked at the seeds, and they're loaded. They're not seeds. They're loaded with cocaine and with all these drugs.
Oh no, that's not
Crates
what I.
and crates
That's
of
not.
them. This is
Well,
why
hold on.
the avocados aren't coming
Before you
in, because
start,
they're
Carl,
shipping them as the seeds.
let me just mention one of the things that about Michoacan, one of the reasons why that's the only state allowed, it is heavily controlled by the narcos. One of the original narcos in that area, the Sinaloa cartel,
Yeah.
one of the oldest ones around. Okay, so they control Michoacan. And so they've made a deal with the DEA and the CIA and that sort of stuff. The deal,
Mm-hmm.
I only allow our shit in. Oh, so if we're into vegetables now. Great, yeah. And now you see what's in the middle of it. Now, my curiosity is how the hell did they just they wrap this around the seed and let the thing grow again, or
No,
how,
no,
how do you get it in the middle of the avocado, for God's
they
sakes?
opened the avocado, they removed the seed, they balled up a chunk of cocaine, taped it up, covered it in wax, and stuck it in where the seed went. And they even made it bigger than the seed. And then they stuck the avocado halves back together and just made crates of these things.
so how the avocados stay together once you cut it. The skin is compromised.
I have no idea how they glued them or
See,
kept them from
that's one of the
falling
things that I'm
apart,
thinking
but
about. How do well,
I
dude,
saw
these
it on
guys
a
have
video where
billions
they
of
cut this
dollars
thing
to
open.
figure out little details. I'm sure they
Or
developed.
cut.
I'm
Super
sure they
glue,
developed.
who
Hey,
knew? Or
looks
you
like
could probably
avocado.
use wood glue.
All right. Well, on my, what I posted
Go
on
ahead. That was
Telegram.
my rant. Go ahead, Carl.
Right. So what I posted on my Telegram, and I'm trying to scroll up to find it, is that they had these. They were boxing up all these avocados that looked like at a grocery store, and anyway, he peeled open the avocado, and you could tell that it was still green. It wasn't ripe yet, and here it is. Boom. So he cuts it. He cuts it open, pulls it apart. Okay, you know what? I think this is okay. This is the video that you were saying. So he cuts it open,
Takes a
and
knife.
yeah, with a knife. Okay, so that's what I was seeing. But what I didn't understand is as he was stabbing this, a lot of black residue was coming out of this, and it's okay. So it's like you said, I guess a waxy. It was very waxy. I didn't understand what I was looking at,
Well, you got to
but
seal it
I
back
thought it
together.
was. I thought it was graphene oxide.
No,
No.
when he
See,
But
what
put the
happens is
knife in,
avocado when it's exposed to oxygen, it turns brown. So
yeah.
no,
it
no, no,
becomes
no, no,
very
no,
brown
no,
and
no.
very cool.
He's talking about something else. When I watched
Right
it, the guy had like a knife and he picked out some of the stuff from the fake
here.
seed and he
Look at
rubbed it
the.
on a drug
I
test
just
and it turned blue.
I was still looking at your Judge Roberts is in charge of 11 of the FISA court judges. Um, if you guys have time, it's Coffee in the Morning with Follow the Cabal on Telegram. You'll get all the news you need.
so I just pinned it. I just pinned the video so you could look at it real quick. But as he's wiping his knife on the test paper, what I first saw was the black residue. So I thought it was. I thought they were putting graphene oxide in the plants.
No, it's cocaine.
But then the test paper turned blue, which is what she was saying. So I wasn't sure what I was looking at first, but now I understand. It's just weird.
Now, is this a video that's just that was just put out there for us to capture, or is this media presentation?
Oh, that's always the ones for we got to
Go to
send somebody, otherwise we're not doing our job. You're not
go
allowing
to
us to get
Paul
that
the
guy because
Ball.
he told me to look that way while I knew he was going by. But let me get one, otherwise I lose my job. It's one of those shipments they get. The problem is that 1% or maybe even 10% that they actually are allowed to capture gives you a glimpse of what they're using to just in case get by on the other ones. All right, because they don't buy everybody off. They actually dig tunnels and go at night and go places where nobody's going to see them, and that sort of stuff that criminals fucking do. They hide
Hmm.
in darkness. They can't pay off everybody, otherwise everybody knows. Like you go down to Colombia, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the narco, his house is over there. Go to the top of the hill on the right, but don't get too close or they'll shoot you in the head. Better to go that way. Have a nice day." Boy, you like it here? Oh yeah, he pays for the hospitals, the schools. Life's good. It's secure. Nobody steals anything from me because otherwise he'll get him shot. So yeah, it's okay.
Well,
But
this doesn't surprise me in the least. I remember as far back as the 70s, and I was living in Miami at the time, and I'm down here in South Florida where we hear about these busts all the time.
yep.
Hell, we got bales that float up on the shore. But
But could you imagine
I
buying an
remember
avocado?
I remember back in the 70s, they used to press hash, marijuana, and cocaine into plates and then put a plaster over them and paint them and just ship them in by the crate load.
Oh yeah, and then later on they put them in the car doors
Oh, yeah,
because
in the
there's
car
tons of
doors, in
room
the
in the car door.
tires, in the gas tanks.
Absolutely. And so whenever you cross the border and you got a cop taking your car apart, understand that some other motherfucker already went through and made them tear it apart in order to find that crap. So
Hmm.
you got to put up with a lot of fucking bullshit, like taking your belt off and taking your shoes off at the
Yep.
airport, which I never had to do when I was a kid because
Yep.
some
That's
dumb
why I
fucker
don't
who's
fly
paid by the
anymore.
CIA, actually did that so that they could take away our liberties. Who the fuck is going to blow something up with a shoe bomb? They're dumbasses. The only reason they did that shit is so we take off our shoes and submit and, be,
Oh, well, the guy
Oh,
with the
the underwear
shoes on,
bomber.
he didn't
That's what
have a
the underwear bomber
passport.
was. They wanted to see all our genitalia.
well,
Yep.
yeah, because then they got all this scanning equipment that
Yep.
scans everything. So it's
That's
just like
why I don't
Total
fly.
Recall.
I couldn't figure out the nail clipper. What are you gonna do? Stop right there. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
right.
nail.
With a nail clipper.
I'm gonna clip your nail. Get this plane in order. I want the plane to take me here.
Yep.
Well, that's because they're pussies and they have no self defense. Because normally you and I would be like, get that shit out of here. But somebody who's like the guy who's in charge of nuclear waste for our country, for example. You take a man like that likes to show off in front of Capitol Hill with high heels, and you put the sharpener of a nail clipper to his throat, and he'll be whimpering, asking you to put on the handcuffs
Oh
because
God,
he
just look
actually
at him
likes the shit.
sideways. You don't need a weapon.
The
Oh my
ridiculous,
god!
the ridiculous thing is anyone, and I mean anyone, who intends to do harm.
Is going to do it.
We don't need weapons. We are a weapon. I mean, it doesn't take much to put your hand on somebody's throat and
No.
squeeze a little too hard, and they die. Okay, if you know how to
Yeah,
strike a
just ask Epstein.
yeah, just, you know, if you know how to strike a person, you can kill them with a single blow.
Yep.
You know, you don't need a knife or a weapon. So
You,
for
Oh,
but
them,
you
they don't
do.
want. They don't want us to know that.
But see, the thing is that
to
you
give up your
cannot use
rights, give up your liberties,
you cannot
to
use
save
your
people.
fisticuffs. You cannot use your fisticuffs to battle an incoming army. And Japan found that out in the late 19th, early 20th
Yep.
century. Okay, because their swords were no match for the Gatling gun. All right. And so what they want is to make sure that we, like in England, you have to use a knife. So what? Knifings are up. We're going to take away kitchen knives now? No, but the
Butter
thing is,
knives and butter your toast.
yeah, but nowadays they don't even need weapons anymore. They're like, fuck your guns, and they turn those microwave scanners onto you. Have you seen
Yeah,
those, Mud
LRAD.
Rabbit? They were
used to
using
get
those in Canada now, giving people sunburns in the middle of
They're
winter.
using them in Australia.
Yeah,
and Canada. They had
Yeah.
a police officer with um, a device over his chest that radiated
prevents him
help.
from being
Boy,
affected.
anybody that's going to be a constitutional lawyer after this is going to make $1 million or more.
One of the things I was going to say, not just Canada and Australia, it was also used in the Himalayas by the Chinese to
Mm-hmm.
push back the Indians. The Indian Army was there, and they had had a heated battle about a month earlier, to where many Indians were thrown over the cliffs and died falling off the cliffs in the Himalayas because the Chinese numbers weren't mentioned. However, the Chinese took losses which were larger than the Indian losses because they ended up retreating. Their response was to come in, and this was a non-weapon zone, so they couldn't come in with missiles or rifles. So they came in with a jeep with a microwave dish on the top. And all of a sudden, you see the Indian troops running away from the Himalayan border. And now we have peace between India and China.
Hold on a second, Mike.
Go
Angel,
ahead.
can you mute your microphone real quick until you're ready to talk?
I don't know if I'm by.
Is it him or is it me? You're hearing interference or something? Is that it?
It's Angel's mic. It was getting bad, so I just had to mute it. Just
Oh.
unmute when you're ready to talk. But yeah, the interference was bad. It sounds great now. It's crystal clear.
Okay. But Mud Rabbit mutes herself. Yeah, that was going to say. Get that on unmute, Mud Rabbit. All right. So Archie Bunker was right. Okay. Yeah, that's possible. However, it's not about your own personal protection because then it's useless and dangerous. It is about protecting your rights and liberties. It's about a burglar, but I prefer to use my machete if somebody comes in close. To
Yeah,
be honest,
something like that. But this is why it's very, very important to be close with your community, know your neighbors, speak with them, walk your
the
dog
Second
past their
Amendment was
yard,
not there
start a
for our own
conversation.
personal. The Second Amendment was not there for our own personal protection. The Second Amendment was there to oppose tyranny.
For a
Because
militia.
that is exactly what the American Revolution taught us as a human race.
Well, and now this is up to the governors. Our governor here in Florida has reinstated the militia. So not only do we have the National Guard, we have the private citizen militia.
That we may not
And
have.
Oklahoma is also doing
Some states need to do that. The governors need to understand we are under states' rule right now. We don't have a president. This is a pretend president. He's not real.
There's no federal government. The federal government.
No, this is all devolution. And in
exactly.
interim military government, you don't have a president. And we're military right now.
Yep, have been.
Trump's not doing anything. Biden's up there pretending to be the resident, and he's got Obama in the background chirping in his ear, and nothing's working because every bill he tries to bring, everything he tries to do, doesn't go. It does.
That's
nothing.
Why everything's executive order.
And he's just letting them dangle out there on a string. I mean, Kamala just made a total ass of herself.
And there's nobody at the White House. There's nobody in D.C.
No, and now he's putting up the fences again around everything.
But that's a fountain they're fixing, I think, right? Supposedly there's a fountain they're fixing, and it's for protection for the workers.
No, they've got the big black fence up again. They've got the big fence up around like they had it a couple months ago when Nancy Drew had it.
We just got Castle Rock Studio.
Yeah, we know that, but there was something that I read a couple of weeks ago, which was extremely interesting, I found, to where...
Yeah, they said they were fixing the fountain, but they walled it all up.
Yeah, but what I was talking about is that there was a limit in declarations, I think it was in the devolution documents, to where they had to wait a year for the invading country.
Yeah, we've already been past a year.
Exactly. That was January 20th, whenever it was the fake
inauguration. Is it The Law of War is the book that...
That's it, The Law of War. You're right. There it is.
Yep, the Law of War manual.
So before we go further, I really need everybody to know, remember, be aware of that. A few months ago, we had videos of them going in and doing pre-demolitions inside the White House.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
they have the White House is rigged to collapse or blow. All right, it'll just fall in on itself. So
You don't
we have
think it
to
was
be,
a reflection?
oh God, no, I've seen those before,
Okay.
so those
Oh, it
what you
went
saw,
up in the rooms
what you
sequentially,
saw
though,
were
brother. It went up.
foundational
You could
pillars,
see it one room after the other. Boom, boom, boom,
both
boom.
floors.
Yeah, I saw the videos, but I wasn't sure what it was.
All right, so what that is they prepared the building to collapse
So
in
you
on it.
think they've blown all the supporting
Like they
beams?
did, like they did in the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what they did is, for right now, so there's only one or two, maybe 16 or something like that, pillars undamaged that are keeping it up, and they're rigged to blow. Once those pillars go down, the entire building will collapse in on itself, and it'll be so
Oh,
fast.
La Retta Dare, yeah.
Like Building 7, just like Building 7.
Because it was already flooded. They already flooded out the underground
Oh
tunnel.
yeah,
Yeah.
The tunnels have been destroyed over the last 2.5 months. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been listening to those earthquakes and explosions and rumblings
And they
all
had
over the
trucks
news.
in and out of there. They had to have moved all the memorabilia out.
Right. So the
Yeah.
point of bringing this up is they're putting up the stupid fence again because of the trucker convoy. All right.
Mhm.
They're gonna try to do another January 6th insurrection of bullshit, whatever. But so we have to look at this. So if they've already got the building rigged to blow, and then they have what is it? The State of the Union coming up in a week. And the convoys are supposed to be circling DC around that time. This is all being staged for an event. And you have to be aware and keep that in your mind that what you see on TV is not reality. Okay? It's all been pre-planned. It's everything is set up. So all it takes is somebody throwing a Molotov cocktail at the White House and the damn thing's going to blow up. Of course.
Okay, going back
they're
to
going
the
to
Q posts,
exaggerate it.
do you think they're going to bomb certain buildings like the Vatican and the White House and Buckingham
Absolutely.
Palace? Do you think so?
Nothing, everything that is every major, like I said, DC, the White House, all the monuments.
That would be the scare event.
Right. So when this fake World War III goes off, so when Ukraine, now this is all fake pretend, okay, but then when the report comes out that Russia shot down the Queen of England's plane and she dies, and it's a state of global war. The UN is going to, pretend to attack Russia, and the United States is going to go full force into this, and blah blah blah. And then there's going to be explosions all over the U.S. Every major Capitol building, all these.
What you're talking about,
that we've
what you're
seen.
talking about is the cabal plan. That's exactly
No,
what they've been.
It's both. Okay, it is what the cabal is planning to do. Correct. And we have to witness this. That's why we're here. That's why we have this intelligence. We're here to witness this and fight back. Now, there's not a lot we can do to fight back outside of the information that we have. So it's important to, keep your neighbors and your friends and the people who watch the show aware that everything is already pre-staged. When the explosions happen, people are going to die.
When you know the playbook.
Right.
Well, see, there are people who didn't go into work on September in 2001. They didn't go in for some reason or another. They had a dream where they were sick that
They were
morning.
text. And I was,
Don't come into work, stay away. And so you avoid those situations. Why? Because there's going to be things that they will do that will take out the masses. And so what you need to do is be away from the masses. Don't be part of the masses. The masses get hit.
but someone brought up the military here, and that begs to ask. We have a divided military, clearly. I mean, you have those who turned away from Biden, and you have those who stayed facing Biden. And that was a very small percentage. So we have a divided military. So they're the military that are for the people and will stand by the people. And I think that's the
Depends
majority.
on some of them. However,
Yeah, but
we
isn't
have to
that
have
part
in
of
the tribunals.
devolution?
Yeah, but see, the thing is that those that are trusting in those lying sacks of garbage can only trust in them as long as they actually still have some kind of authority. As soon as those 10 days of darkness and those
Like
trials
Mil-
begin, then they're not going to have because they're not going to be able to support somebody who's just been
Yeah,
there.
I'd like to address what Todd just said.
Go ahead.
Brian Cates had a very interesting thing to say about that. And I like Brian Cates. He seems to be a very logical person. Um, Let me read this excerpt. He said, "There's a reason there's been concentrated military intelligence campaign for the past year and a half to sell the world on the idea the American military is a bunch of clueless, worthless, dickless, woke, effeminate losers. Millie is a sad clown, our military is a joke, etc., and the disinfo campaign works. Nobody questions it. It's a necessary evil in order to avoid a full-scale land invasion of a country that's attacked us with a virus." That makes sense to me. I think this whole thing with a divided military and with our boys being sick, it's
Appear weak
all
when you are
optics.
strong. It's
It's
the art of
all
war.
optics, exactly.
Well, I do have a niece who's in the military who also is a sheriff in
Mhm.
Chicago, and they were going up against her with the Jibs. And she contacted us on the very day my wife gave her all the avenues about how to go about a religious exemption.
Mm-hmm.
Stay away from the science, strictly stick with the religious exemption.
Mm-hmm.
She followed through, and she's good. I'm yet to find out how that press happening for in the military.
I'd be interested too.
She said that they're trying to get her to go overseas, but she wants to stick to her job because it has something to do with child trafficking. She's in the division that investigates that. So I am going to push further to get some information from her because that is so significant to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, then there's the question if
See,
they're
if you have a religious objection,
I did read
one of the things
something
that they
today
ask,
where
have you
people are
taken
having
any
success
vaccines in the
in
past?
getting their religious exempts, but they've all had to take it to court.
Yeah, and you'll have to face whatever's going on before you actually get your day in court. And those days can be rough unless you're ready for them. Okay. Why? Because we have to defend our rights. There was a trucker who said, "Are you willing to lose your truck?" And dude, these rigs are 100 grand, 200 grand. Okay, are you willing to lose your rig? Are you willing to have your bank account seized and everything else? He says, those are all material possessions. I am demonstrating peacefully for my liberty, for my freedom, for my children, for my grandchildren. Because liberty goes beyond the material things, goes beyond the things that they can take away. It's about us being free and them not making us slaves to the system forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we lose this battle, it's gone forever. Ask the Russians, ask the Chinese, ask the Venezuelans who are flowing over the Brazilian border looking for something better or at least food to eat.
And don't forget, they have no problem wiping out millions and millions and millions of people. All you
No,
have to
they
do
don't
is
care about us.
Everybody thinks that Hitler killed the most. No, Stalin killed more than Hitler. And guess what? Mao killed more than Stalin did. Stalin went
China.
up to 32 million, and you got Mao that went up to 65 million people.
Then that
During
was just
Mao's
to disarm, and that was just to disarm the people. You know, those who dissented against the government, against the regime, against the tyrannical rule, you know, they all got wiped out. They all got herded up. Their homes
You
invaded.
eliminate the problem. And then
Yep.
you create, like the military regimes here in Brazil, created an entire generation and a half of people that were afraid to raise their head. Because anyone who did stand up or question anything did disappear in the dead of night. Okay, and you never saw them again, or they were blacklisted and they were unable to do a damn thing afterwards. But those were the lucky ones, because people disappeared. And so
then-
when you see cousins and everything else disappear, you tell your kids, shut up, don't say a word, just do your shit, get it done, and keep your eyes on what you need to do. Because they didn't want to lose their kids.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever happens to the
But that means that 85% of the population in this country voluntarily accepted an unproven and experimental medical issue. So we're not going to get much on that. Don't want to get, but they did that because it's cultural, because they destroyed them in the 60s. The CIA destroyed the culture of Latin America in the 60s. They made everybody subservient. Why? Because just like the Maoists did, if you stuck your head up, you were gone. And so the ones that are left over are the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth because nobody kills them.
This is why it's not going over well in Miami.
Because all those people ran away from Cuba.
Yeah.
They know what that shit's about.
You don't have just them. You've had Holocaust survivors down there. Back in the 70s, we had
all those New York Jews that flowed down to Florida to retire.
Little old ladies and little old men, grandmas and grandpas, and they've raised their children and they have told their children about the Holocaust and all the horrors. So you've got a huge population down there.
That's why Florida's free.
On top of it, we've got DeSantis. He's Cuban descent. You think he's going to let us turn into Castro?
Yeah, I hope. I hope the rumors. Yeah, Canada. Exactly, Castro Jr. However, I am concerned about DeSantis. I heard some things that I haven't been able to verify.
Midterms are coming up, so they're putting out a bunch of. That's Nikki Fried, and she's putting out all these horrible lies about him.
Okay, so that explains it, because you showed that to me, and I was worried because it was linked to Pence, and I know Pence is dirty. We've known that for a while.
No, this is Nikki Fried. She's communist. One of these
so that's why she was
SJWs, and she's run for governor, and she lost the last time, and now she's running again. So she's got all this bad press going out about him, and we're all standing here looking at her like. What planet are you on? We're all happy down here.
Well, what cracks me up is the Lynn Wood General Flynn war.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's so all one-sided. Lynn's fighting by himself.
You know, it's just hilarious because, I mean, you know, Lynn Wood went through hell in a handbasket, and, you know, he sacrificed so much.
Yeah, but do you think of some of that was coercion to get him to do what he's doing now?
You know, we'll see. I trust General Flynn more than I do Lynn Wood.
I do too.
You know, that's the thing is General Flynn went through the fire. Lynn Wood didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lynn Wood just claims is always, you know, he flip flops. You know, but there's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of.
I wouldn't put anything negative on Lynn. I'd just say that he doesn't necessarily. I mean,
I think that shooting thing hurt him.
Well, Flynn knows where the bodies are. He's been in the middle of all this crap for decades. This guy knows his stuff, and there's no questioning Flynn. Now, is he a Bible thumper? Is he yeah, well, you've got that right, obviously, because everybody's a human being, and he spent a year fighting jail time because God, who was it that recommended? Oh yeah, it was Pence that recommended that he undergo extremely questionable procedures because he was doing his job description. And now doing your job description is illegal. Okay, interesting. So thanks again, Pence, for that one. But yeah, Flynn. Now, Lynn Wood, I don't see him as bad, folks. Now, does he know everything? Oh, fuck no. He doesn't know half the shit that Flynn does. Now, is he an upstanding guy? Is he a Bible thumper? Yeah, I've seen his quotes and everything else. He's pretty literate in that aspect. And to that point, I'll trust him, but then again, Pence also is, so fuck him. So it's not what you say, it's what you do. And that's one of the things. Now, my biggest concern is who was the lawyer, the female lawyer? I love that woman. She fiery ass bitch. Was taking everybody up, but she was taken down a couple of notches. What was her name?
Oh, the Kraken lady.
Kraken, releasing the Kraken. Yeah, that one.
Sidney Powell.
Sidney
Sidney Powell.
Powell. My God, I love that woman. I mean, it's fucking fire and power and tenacity, and you don't see that evilness in her. You know, it's about justice and everything else. I mean, when you listen to Hillary speak, you feel the venom coming off her fangs with almost every word. But not with Sydney. And so things, yeah, they're attacking them because they are the front runners, just like the ones that organized the convoy in Canada. So we get that. Um, but still, the whole situation, we're towards end game, and the pressure is getting hotter, and it's getting harder to bear in some cases. However, hold the line. We're almost there. Angel, you had something to say, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've noticed what they're doing, with the crack thing and all that, with these perverted, this total like psychological goofiness that they're playing on us, trying to normalize the craziest of crazy things. I mean, whether it's transgenders, with fairy time or storytelling in libraries, to all these crazy things that it's just out of the box. They're trying to normalize that. So then again, we docilize. We're not standing up. We're just accepting it. No one's. I mean, some people are taking
Everything that you just mentioned was already described 1,000+ years ago
Yeah.
to John.
And
Okay,
it's
he was given a vision of the days of today, and he said, "Where right is wrong and wrong is right."
yes.
And you have mockers and scoffers in the world, and be away from them,
Yep.
because they do you no good. Okay, he was describing these times when people go to and fro everywhere. I mean, what's traffic jams about? What's rush hour about?
Well,
What's
it's not just Bible
flights and everything
prophecy,
else? People
Hopi
flying
prophecy.
across the planet. We are the times that John was shown.
Then it makes you wonder, what does civil war look like? Who do you know who's on what side?
Yeah, right.
Well, they don't. There are pictures of civil war pictures to where you had a Union and conservative that were taking a picture because both of them were brothers. They were just in different states at the time the thing broke out.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? What is the reason? What are you defending? That's what needs to be instated.
What are we going to be, the yellow coats then? Because the yellow the yellow jackets was the start of defining,
Well, they're in France.
Right.
But then again, we've got the red jackets of the construction workers, which are the same thing as they are in France, but they're red if you go to New York or something else. Are we going to be the red jackets or something? No, there's no symbolism to it. I mean, drape yourself in your flag if you want to. Drape yourself in the Constitution. But more than anything else, put on the full armor of God and know that all of this is a spiritual battle. It's got nothing to do with the material, and it's got nothing to do with the reality that's around you, because the World Economic Forum tells us that, oh, if you think you're going to get back to the life that you had before, that's a fantasy. None of that will ever be real again. You
Who the
will
hell
own
wants
nothing and you'll be happy.
before. That's the
Go
thing
ahead,
is,
Carl.
why would you want to go back to the way things were before? I mean,
Well, in the
it's
70s, things were pretty fucking awesome. I mean, things rocked in the 70s and 80s.
in the 70s, you were blind, ignorant, and actually, I don't know. I think
I had a
no,
lot of shit. I
it
had
was.
3 cars. I had 2 houses. I was traveling the planet. I mean, it
And
was
what did you know of
incredible.
the deep state? What did you know of the child sacrificing, human trafficking? What did you know of
Exactly.
the
Well,
control?
in that case,
You were
ignorance
blind, deaf, and
is
dumb, and happy. You owned
I have
nothing.
waited all my life for this change. All my life, I've waited for this change. I have been called conspiracy theorist. I've been called stupid. I've been called crazy. I've been called nuts all my life.
But I think I know what Carl's saying. We were blissfully living in our ignorance, and all this
I wasn't
was
that
wrong all
ignorant.
along.
No, I
Wasn't
wasn't that
good.
ignorant. I knew there was something wrong with children. I knew it.
I didn't know about the kids. I knew about the corruption because, going to Mexico, I could see the difference. And
I didn't
whenever I
know
was
how bad it was with the
That made
kids,
you
but
feel
I knew
happy.
there was abuse.
No, well, see, the thing is that I
Got
knew
no
all that
corruption.
shit was going on because whenever I would tell my dad and I would compare Mexico to the U.S., well, the U.S. might be corrupt, but they only take 10%, and they allow the economy to grow, and it doesn't really matter. Whereas there in Mexico, they take fucking everything, every 6 years. So my dad told me, no, son, you just can't see the corruption that's in the U.S. And so
I
from a
had a
very early
grandmother who was
age,
very clued in.
oh,
Yeah,
and my
mom
grandmother taught me about the mark of the beast and the beast system. And so, yeah, I've been clued in from 7 or 8 years old. But at the same time, it's nice getting onto a plane and flying across the ocean. It's nice driving for 3 days into another country and seeing other civilizations. It's nice coming home and having a couple of cars in the garage that are
Oh, it's nice
relatively.
going to the store and buying your food. It's nice participating in
Mm-hmm.
society,
Mm-hmm.
wearing the mark of the beast. So just put it on your forehead, brother.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right there. You're
Yep.
absolutely right there.
And see, I grew
You
up,
got me, Carl. You got me, Carl. You got me. You're absolutely right. And
I,
that's the reason.
We
I
And
grew up,
are all service to self by nature of our physicality. It's never going to
yeah, but
be any other way.
I'm having that exact same battle here, because there's pressure from employers to get something which I know is about to be eliminated from the planet because it's about to end. But the pressure at the very end is about to buckle. I'm like, we withstood 2 years of this shit without buckling, and you're going to buckle now because there are more serious threats than what they were
Mm-hmm.
before. And so it's like I've got that battle at home, and there's
Well, then
one thing that I realized.
it's very apropos. It's very appropriate that money be the first one to die because everybody else will then have to wake up and look about and look at what's really important.
So the problem with all of this is that everybody in the world who gives into the mask mandates, who gives into everything else, they have no clue of what's behind them.
No.
They keep backing up. They keep surrendering freedom. They keep backing it up. They keep giving away. What they don't realize is their backs, what's behind them is a damn cliff.
Right.
Yep.
So there is no, they don't have a line that they're willing to stand.
No,
for.
but even
They're
Carl,
just going to
even the
fall off the
Bible,
damn cliff.
even the Bible tells us the wheat from the tares. It's not everybody. I mean, where we go one, where we go all is nice and everything, but not
that's the beast
everybody's going to
system.
make it.
That's the beast system. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that everyone goes to heaven. Nowhere.
I'm not even saying heaven. I'm just saying whenever this split comes, it's a split for a reason because some of it goes one way and some of it goes the other. And people who, depending on their orientation and what they've learned and how many energy centers they have working, go either way. I mean, not
that's the
all
thing.
of
I think
them.
we talked about this last week. The
Not
Mayan prophecy
everybody
of the
is
two
going
big
to wake
wheels.
up. And there's going to be definitely 6% that don't wake up because that's about the average population of psychopaths in the world.
but then we can soften all that, and
Yes,
I mean,
we can soften it and we can help them.
no, what I'm getting at is this: the perception of what could be taking place. Granted, I don't come from a religious perspective. I come from more. I study more like the law of one,
Mm-hmm.
law of attraction, that kind of thing. And I also always recognize that the process of how I look at it is we move through densities to get back to source, and then we do it all over again. It's just
Yep.
a cycle and a
Yep.
cycle and a cycle.
That's
Field.
it.
Those who are not making it are choosing so on a soul level, they're going to be a part of some new place, another 3D world where they start their little program. It's almost like the Matrix in a sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
but see, the thing is, they have to be in a matrix that is more appropriate to their resonance, and their resonance is extremely destructive. And so they end up being inserted into a reality that is extremely destructive,
Mhm.
what we would consider hell. Because in hell, everything's burning, everything's being destroyed, nobody's helping anybody else because that's the resonance where they're in.
Well,
Okay, and
on
what
the-
people consider heaven is that those two wheels that the Mayans were talking about. I thought all of society would go one way or all of society, depending on what the majority chose. No, and from what Mud Rabbit mentioned, and it makes a lot of sense, to where no, it's going to be a quantum separation. Boom. Some of them are going to go this way, and some of them are going to go that way.
Yeah. One will be taken and one will remain.
Exactly, and that was the way that he was trying to explain that quantum multiverse to us back when people didn't even know what fire was.
Right. And where we go one, we go all is going to apply to the people who are waiting for that very thing.
Well, the thing that kills me though is I have some good friends, and one guy that I know that's very intelligent. He just always had a direction, very unique in his manner. But ever since this situation happened, this pandemic, I've seen a different side of him. I come to find that his support is, more to the left, and his attitudes, his fear, I kind of lost respect for him. And I feel bad because what I had, my perception of him and my perception now.
Who are you talking about?
You're getting the scales.
A friend of his.
We are all collectively getting the scales removed from our eyes.
Yeah,
you are seeing them for who they are. One of the things people always talk about me, but you always go to the extremes. Why do you always have to take it to the extremes? And I tell them, because the only way that you can see where a theory breaks down is in the extremes. When everything is lukewarm, everything fucking works. But it's not good whenever you go to the extremes. That's where I went down, the Taoism, and I went down Buddhism and Hinduism and everything else. But you take them to the extremes. You stretch them to where it's about to bust, like 7.5 billion people on a planet, to where everybody's communicating, to where it's a global community. All of these things break down at that level. Okay, and that's where you take all of these ideas and you take them to the extremes to make them break down. And the situation that we're at is an extreme. And we are seeing that separation. How you are known by how you treat your enemies, not by how you treat your friends. That's what Jesus said. If you treat your friends well, even pagans do that, and they treat their enemies badly. You are known by how you treat your enemies. Go ahead, Carl.
Hold on. Angel, adjust your microphone sensitivity. Drop it about 50% or 75%. Because James Rohrbach is saying that you're blowing his speakers out in his truck every time you talk.
And I would have to figure out how to do that because I'm sitting way back when I talk. Could just be,
when you come into the stream or in the settings.
Okay, I see it. I got it.
I've dropped him 50%. I don't know if that might help.
50%.
No, you're fine, Michael.
No, I dropped him 50%. I'm just seeing maybe that might help or something else. But if not, I'll pull him back up if we can't hear him.
All right, so we're on the subject, and you guys don't even realize it, but the significance of today's date is the date that
the closing of the portal.
Well, I don't know about the closing of the portal, but maybe you're right. So
you start on 2.
Well, it was everything to do
when
with
one door closes, another one opens.
There you go. Okay, that's true.
Has everything to do with Pluto, and it's astronomical event that happened a long time ago, and
July 4th, 1776 was the last time, and before that, it was during the fall of the Roman Empire.
Holy shit! Seriously, which astronomical event was that?
Pluto.
Pluto. It's not alignment, but I can't remember. It was anyway. But so the whole point of it is it's the end of an it's like 2012. It's the end of an era.
Do you think it's the end of the Yuga?
I don't know what the Yuga is.
This was the Mayan, either Mayan
or
the Hindu.
Okay, yeah, the
Kali Yuga is what we're coming out of.
Kali Yuga is the Hindu or the Vedic texts that you're referring
But we have to look at.
But my brother, as far as the Mayans were concerned, the old cycle ended in 2012, but there was a period of not adaptation, but
that
choice.
Was when they could no longer manipulate information from Looking Glass.
Yeah, exactly. 2012 was the end of that reality, according to the Mayans. Then we had what they said, I think 7 years of adaptation. In other words, the last year of that interval was 2019, which meant that the new big cycle started in 2020. What happened in 2020 that we're still going through?
What I was going to get, when we talk about the Mayan and reaching this 2012, are we going off of their cycles of 360 versus our Gregorian? Because
No, those calculations were already done and adapted and everything else to be able to correspond to our calendar.
okay.
What you have,
Well, some people might be nitpicking, but yeah, it's generally 2012.
what you're
There's a phase. It's 25,000 year cycles. Count it however you want.
what
Go
you're
ahead.
all failing to look at is that, you know, the rulers of this realm, this dimension, this plane, this global empire, it all started at the last Pluto revolution, and this signifies their end. So this is the official end, the celestial end of their domain over our realms and our dimensions.
Which is why
So
they're accelerating, because they know it's coming.
right, and it's but they've finish line's already passed as of 2/2/2/2/2 today.
Oh, interesting. Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, whether it was 2:22 a.m. or 2:22 p.m. was the official end of their time. So
Well, that's why you posted the fact that the queen is dead.
and that may be, but we're still, I hate relying on. Well, it's not that I hate relying on it. I mean, I love having access to all this information. I just hate the fact that there's so much of the workforce of America and the world relies on CNN and NBC and MSNBC, and
I haven't relied on them in like 15 years.
Yeah, and CNN stock is dropping, and they've had to let go some of their top people. Don't worry, I'm not worried about CNN. It seems like they're cleaning house.
But I do agree with Carl. There's
And Jesse
still
Waters
a
has been
media
turned
manipulation somewhere. Where's this manipulation?
Everywhere, and that's going to be part of the crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Because all those it includes PBS, NPR, all the main names, because they get their information from one source, and that one source is exactly. It wasn't Operation Paperclip. That was a German Zin. It was Operation Mockingbird. That was it. Operation Mockingbird. Take it over a minute and a half. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
All right. So there's so much that goes into this 2222 that is, of course, I haven't researched it as much as I'd like to, but one thing we know about the toroidal field is that it has cycles. Everything in it has cycles. So just like anyway, so
well, it's interesting, Carl. What happened if you take into account what happened? The British stole parts of our Constitution that was the part that we would be not presidents, but like king and queens ourselves. And now that if you're saying today, the chance that the queen, I mean, all this seems to be tied in again. If we could just put it together,
right? Which I keep hitting Telegram to see, and of course, Telegram may be muting the censoring this information until it hits mainstream. But
no, this one of yours, I liked. God is a frequency that exists within you. Tune in. Absolutely.
Oh my God, he checked out my channel. Oh my goodness.
I brought it up. God is a frequency that exists within you. I gotta save that. I love that one.
And that's what that's what I've been trying to tell people, and it's mentioned around, this is my biggest problem with the Bible, and Christianity and all mainstream religions. They teach you to pray out into the universe. But God isn't out into the universe. Well, he is. But
he is everywhere, but he's inside you.
He's inside you. He is the frequency of your soul.
That's why.
So if you really want to communicate with God, communicate to your heart.
Because that's where God is. God is in your heart.
Speaking of God and souls, if you look at the Lord's Prayer as it goes from beginning to end, it addresses each chakra, each energy center in the body. This is why Jesus said this was the appropriate way to pray. If you look at it, our Father, which is the
The head chakra.
no, the one between the eyes. It's the chakras don't go straight. It's a shepherd's crook. You've got the third eye, and then on top of your head is
The crown.
the crown. Each line in the Lord's Prayer addresses each one of these energy centers from the center, the one in your eye, between your eyes, third eye, up to the top, to the top of the shepherd's crook, and down through the body. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's voice. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the heart. Give us this day our daily bread. That's the third chakra up. That's your stomach. And so forth. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. That all comes from the second energy center.
Let your shit go.
So if you look at that and you understand that when you say that particular prayer, you can run it down through your energy centers, down through your chakras, and it's more effective.
But I have a problem with the Catholic quote of it. They use eat the body and drink the blood. And that's pretty satanic to me.
So use the Protestant version.
Right.
Well,
It still addresses each one.
I also had eat the body and drink the blood. But each one of those was do this in remembrance of me, do this in remission of sins. Why?
Well,
Because
I'm
the
a
blood
Baptist.
was
We
shed.
see crackers and grape juice.
Yeah, whatever it is, because the wine is the same damn thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's all symbolic. And my problem with the Catholic faith is that they do the magical thing to where no, this isn't wine. This is really blood. That's sorry, you fucking psycho. No, it's not. It's freaking wine. Get real. And so that's the part of trying to make it all fantasy that makes the rest of it seem unreal, which it isn't. It's more real than reality itself.
It's more real than people realize. And this is why I say envision the shepherd's crook and envision the prayer starting at the third eye and work it down through the energy centers, down through the chakras.
I hadn't thought about it on a chakra level. But thanks for pointing that out. I'll think about
Write
that.
it out.
Thank you, Rabbit. I like it.
Yeah,
Oh,
write it
Peggy
out
did.
and look at it. And you can see exactly which part of it applies to which energy center.
I've seen that name before. Don't know who it is.
What name is that? Peggy Dancer. Hey, girl, how are you?
That one.
Welcome.
I've seen her around somewhere. Somebody else mentioned her
Aaron's
as well.
channel and Zoso Dude.
That's where it was. Okay, it was Aaron's
Yes.
channel. That's where I saw
Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarty right here on YouTube Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And
Hey,
Zoso Dude is
I was
also
about to say
on
so,
YouTube.
dude.
Zoso Dude's cool. I saw him on
awesome.
Redco 78. I'm not much on D Live because they only do live, and I usually taped mine pre-recorded and uploaded. I've started doing live with y'all.
Well,
So
Zoso's Saturday Live is on Twitch and D Live because of copyright.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's an awesome 4 hours of good old-fashioned rock and roll and a lot of fun.
Zoso Dude is good, folks.
Mhm.
And over on Aaron, well, that's where I started all this live crap because that's where I met Jacob. We got on there, and that's where I met Mud Rabbit. Holy shit.
Mhm.
So, we went on there and we were starting to talk about this stuff, but Aaron's not that into that particular topic. And at that point, it was dangerous. People were getting knocked off for the things that we were talking about.
Yeah, channels are getting taken down for certain.
Yeah, like people don't
talks.
like AJ, for example. And
Well, like
so,
what happened to Jacob twice.
yeah, twice.
I guys, I got a new post on Truth Social from Debbie Roush.
Mhm.
She goes, so it's just give me a second to read this. She goes, so there's a lot of people asking questions about Truth Social. We'll do my best to cover some of the topics asked. There is a direct message option that is coming soon. We will have direct messaging again, which will be nice. To get verified, there is a self-verify system being released supposedly next week. Have not confirmed that myself, but that's what I was told by 3 different people when asked Devin Nunez on Truth Social and got replies. As for now, there's no gift function. You can post videos up to 2 minutes long. Load times are running extremely well for a brand new site. Should have patches being installed throughout the week for errors. There are people claiming censorship on Truth Social. You've got to remember you still can't go and say outrageous things. Why not? Is mine. There is a censor message that will pop up on messages and videos if flagged and warned that it could be sensitive content. What is the fucking point of having a new Truth Social?
They're doing the same fucking thing the other ones are doing. And
Yeah,
you gotta
but no,
be
what Stu
compliant.
Peters did was incite violence with his comment. That's why his was moderated.
I don't
Stu
know. I have,
Peters? I mean, since when is Stu Peters negative? I mean, that guy is about
I don't trust him.
close.
He's an
Really?
alarmist. He apparently he made a comment about anybody that, forced these vaccines on children should be, and I'm paraphrasing, should be executed, I think was the word he used.
Yeah. Okay. So
So you don't just go off and start with
you
all
can't
the
you
whole
can't
bangs
you
out
can't
there
do
all
that.
at
I mean,
once.
I might agree with him, but I'm not going to be able to say it on my channel if I want to stay
No,
up.
have a little
It-
decorum and understand where you're at.
kinda like
No, he's an
Marfuga.
alarmist. He's another Howard Stern who wants attention. He's an ex-trooper, state trooper.
Okay, I didn't know that, but he
Yeah.
looks like one, which
Yeah.
is he got that vibe. I got that vibe from.
Yeah.
I don't watch Stu that much. I know he gets great content, and I get his stuff on email and everything else, and I've got his videos on Rumble and all that kind
I
of
have
stuff.
him on Rumble, but he's said a few things lately that just kind of made me look at him with a side eye.
Well, there's a limited amount of time in the day, and Stu might get some good stuff, but I get the same information from Luke, and we
Luke Sly
know
Talker?
Luke Rudenkowski, the guy
Oh, yeah.
who's part of the Beanie compound
Hmm.
of Tim Pool. Yeah. So I might not agree with all of their positioning because Tim's a lot more left than what I am, and Luke doesn't really believe in any of the 17th letter stuff. He thinks is all bullshit. However, they have their nose to the ground. They think that they actually tell us what's going on from a semi-unfiltered
Well,
sense.
there's some people out there like Brian Cates who have no interest whatsoever in 17 and still manage to suss out what's going on because of their background knowledge.
Okay.
anyway, she was just saying that it's identical to Twitter, and they're taking it very delicately. There's only like 22,000 people on it.
Mhm.
President Trump hasn't tweeted anything or truthed anything yet. So, here's the problem. All right. So,
We're already
when it
starting
comes
off with censorship.
right. When it comes to information, there are some really harsh truths out there.
Yes.
And if you're not allowed to speak these harsh truths, being afraid you're going to offend somebody because, I'm sorry, it's going to offend everybody.
Yeah.
That's the whole fucking point
Well,
about
I
truth.
don't think the whole purpose of Truth Social is for us to get out there and start spouting the truth. I think the
It's
whole
for him
purpose
to.
is for Trump to do it. And they're bringing everybody, as many people as they can on board.
And they're trying to filter out the trolls.
Right. And they're trying to filter out anybody that might stir shit up. And they're going to.
But it's also they also know that the biggest money making machine is knowledge of the individual
Mm-hmm.
and being able to track them. So the fact, before you even talked about the censorship on the site, I was tied at the fact that everyone had to identify with this, that, and the other, to where you are completely transferred into the system. They know exactly who you are, what you're
With
saying,
Truth
where you're
Social,
at.
I didn't do that.
No, you didn't? Okay.
No.
So, okay.
No, it was just date of birth and email address. So
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
was it.
Okay.
And
I
that's from the
thought there
app.
was a lot more.
That's not online. Online, you go on the waiting list. But if you have an iPhone, you can download the app. They'll give you you follow the instructions. They'll send you a verification code through the email. You put
Okay.
it in.
All right.
And
Well,
you
that's
get
basic.
your account made, but you're not allowed in yet. You get a number.
I'm still trying to figure out how did hurting someone's feelings become law.
I know, right? It's killing our comedians.
I mean, really. I mean,
Well, see, I kind of agree with it because I was like I always say, I was woke before woke was a thing. So, I mean, I was a Mexican in Oklahoma. So, what the fuck do you think they were telling me to, play with all the wetbacks? And I'm like, I didn't play with them in Mexico. Why the fuck would I play with them here? And so I had to deal with that shit my entire fucking life, and I get it. However, we cannot, and this is what I don't see from the left, something that I had to learn from my very conservative grandparents in Oklahoma, to where, again, that lesson that I said, you are known by how you treat your enemies. Period. The end. If I'm willing to abuse someone because I don't agree with them, then there is a problem. And the people that are abusing now were complaining back in the day that they were being abused. And so the hypocrisy is coming full circle. Why?
Also,
Because
consider that a lot of these Antifa BLM people could very well be all these children that were kidnapped over the years and
that
raised
too.
in a totally different environment and then turned loose on us.
MK Ultra project, absolutely.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
and
my
on top of it, you've got kids that want to belong. So now you've got this whole group going.
The peer pressure going. Go ahead, Angel.
I guess the rational, I guess I'm trying to be rational about this. This whole ideal of feeling words hurting you. You choose what you allow to hurt you. I guess I'm trying to understand why we're not having that kind of dialogue more frequently.
The thing is that I understood how words hurt, because I remember one time I was with a friend of mine. We were 16, and he was sitting there in his kitchen, and he and a friend were hurling insults at each other. Talking about their mamas and talking about this and this curse word and the other curse word. And I'm sitting there going, you guys sound like enemies. Oh, no, we're training, we're practicing. You got
Yeah.
to get a thick skin. Why don't you join on in? And
Yeah,
I'm
your
like,
mama's so fat, that sort of thing.
yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting.
They used to have
She's
that on television.
When she sat around the house, she sat around the house. No, but it was more explicit, and personal, and it
Look,
was really
Carl's mama jumped in the air and got stuck. That's how fat she is. So
Your mama's so fat, belt size is equated.
shit. Your mama's so fat when she jumped in the pool, there was an earthquake in 3 states. Gotcha, bitch. Anyway, whenever people got to that level, I was like, sorry, I'm not going to participate. Why? Because that's not within my resonance. I don't insult others, and I don't really like being insulted. And yeah, I gotta
James
have,
Rohrbach on the comments said exactly what I was thinking. Sticks and stones only here. Sticks and stones.
yeah, but see, that's part of the end times. Why?
Yep.
Because they are going to pretend to be just and godlike, forgetting where that authority comes from. We want to be just. We don't want to harm others, not because we want to be ethical and good people. No,
Yeah.
because God loved us.
Yeah,
He
I've only
told
encountered
us.
one Karen, and sometimes I think the best thing to do is just look at them like they're from another planet. I mean,
They
you
are from
can't.
another planet.
Yeah, you can't say anything to them because they're going to think you're being mean. And if you're a good Christian, you just keep your mouth shut, smile, and walk away.
Yeah, but see but see, hold on. You're not going to keep your mouth shut because all of a sudden we got what's going on now
I
because
keep
they're
my
taking
mouth
everything
shut
over.
until somebody lays a hand on me, and then I
Yeah,
make all kinds
but
of noise.
yeah. However, the thing that I was wanting to get to was where Christ said, "You give them the message. If they don't receive it, turn your back,
And
dust
walk
off,
away.
dust off your feet." It's symbolic to where, okay, I'm leaving you behind, and you walk away.
Yep.
Part of forgiveness. One of the things that I was like, God, how can I forgive? And what he was, and what he told me in the dream that night, whenever I asked, he was like, forgiveness is about not doing harm,
Right.
not seeking vengeance.
Yeah.
So
And
if
it's
somebody
so.
did you harm and you're like, all right, fuck it, you walk away and
Yep.
you're not going to go back. You're not going to do them harm. You're not going to try and no.
You can
That was-
forgive. You don't have to
but,
reconcile. There's
but
no
my
place
thing
in the
is
rules
don't
that
have
says
to
we have to
forget either.
reconcile.
but my thing is this. You take BLM. What is their objective? to stop racism? How do you tell someone to stop hating? Wouldn't you
Well,
rather that person be honest with who they are, so then you can later have a dialogue? Why do you hate me?
but they're
Yeah.
not being
honest.
they're
But
not
they
being
won't.
honest
They
because they
won't.
start from lies.
They won't talk with logic. They've got to attack, and when you
See, but
approach
they
them
don't
with
start.
logic, they turn
They
around
don't
and call
start
you
from
names.
logic or honesty. They're starting from lies.
Honesty. That's it right there.
There is an implicit purpose to their existence, and it is division. The way that the U.S. can be divided, which is a melting pot of so many fucking races,
Mhm.
it's freaking nuts. I mean, Brazil is the only country that I've ever known that's very similar. Okay, so it's a melting pot. Everybody tries to get along because fuck it, that guy's not from where I'm from. That guy's not from where I'm from. But we're all in the same place together. Let's figure this shit out, right? So
It's all one planet.
exactly,
I
it's all one
think
community.
you should be
But
able to
they plant that division, and their whole focus, the way that the Chinese took up the Maoist, and that's part of the Maoist revolution, because we're in the middle of a three-pronged Marxist takeover of the planet.
Oh, and I get the agenda. Well, what I'm getting at is the rational people coming to these conclusions and having that dialogue. You don't hear people having that dialogue.
They don't have dialogue; they have propaganda.
Right.
That's
But
all they can
what
spew out.
happened to rational people is what I'm getting. What the hell happened to them? Where are
They're
they
not
at?
rational. They haven't been educated for the last 30 years. There hasn't been a decent educational system in the U.S.
Yeah, you
I
can't be
remember,
rational if you don't have the information. I mean, my son is in his 40s and he never had civics classes. They cut civics classes off after my generation. Nobody in Florida got civics classes until they put it back into the curriculum a year or two ago, I think it was.
So then we're saying we have a dumbed down. What
Yes,
percentage
we
of
have a
yes, but
whole
that
two
is
generations of people who are dumbed down,
that
who
is
do
the
not know
Marxist
the Bill
agenda.
of Rights, who do not know the Constitution, who don't even read cursive.
Who can't fill out a checkbook?
Right. You got it.
That is part
the hell
of the
get
communist
filed?
agenda. The more you dumb down the population, the more you can actually control them.
Well, the more they become rote, because
I mean,
their whole
if you learned tax law, you would never pay your taxes.
exactly.
So
Yeah, I thought
don't
this
Exactly.
was funny. I had
because
to put that
nobody
up
pay
there.
us.
A helicopter landed on her back. I mean, that's cruel. Yeah, that's wicked.
Marby.
Well, at least you got a haircut.
Yeah, and speaking of Malcolm X, I mean, that's one brother I do respect. I mean, what did he do? He went to Mecca and came back and recognized it isn't about black. There's white Muslims. I mean, he totally just, his biases and all his thinking changed.
When you go to the origin and you figure shit out, you figure out that it's all a bunch of fucking lies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I always brought up the fact that I always bring people to death. What happens when you die? Because if by chance you lived another lifetime, who were you? What could you have been in the past? Could you have been that white person that you hate so much right now? Or could you be that black person, that you hate the opposite side? I mean, you can go on and on. But, if you believe in one life and you believe in going to heaven and you lived one life, then you blame God.
Okay, I can speak
No.
to that one. I have been regressed 3 separate times, and 2 of those times I was black. I'm not
Yo,
meaning to be
sister,
racist or
I knew you
anything.
could
No,
jive. You got it in ya, boss.
no,
sister.
it was weird. I mean, when I went to be regressed, I kind of expected to just see myself as a female in each of these 3 regressions. I wasn't a female in any of those regressions, and I was only white in one. So you can't tell me these people, they're so
sorry.
dumbed down,
Yo,
they don't think of the
homie, what's
possibility.
up, brother?
But all I'm saying is,
I got you from 3 lives ago. Yo, you hooked me up.
Yeah, right, Michael. High five.
right, but this is the dialogue that people should have more frequently.
Exactly.
Use
Exactly. Racism would go right out the window if more people had that experience and more people could know what they were in a past life, because I'm telling you, you're not the same person in every one.
Right.
We
And then
all-
you don't know if you're working out karma. You don't know if you're working out karma. You don't know, if you had a cycle of lives. I mean, that would totally diffuse everything that we're dealing with. It just doesn't-
Exactly.
However, the problem there, Angel, comes in And this is where my breakdown of all that and why I come back to the book that so many people despise nowadays is the words of Jesus are unique and only on the planet, and it's the only one of the theories that doesn't break down when you expand it to 7.5 billion people or you shrink it down to a community of five. It works the entire time. It's the law of love. It's not the law of one, the all inclusion, or it's the law of love, period. And what he told us, we only got one. Now, I respect Mud Rabbit and I expect Terry and everything else, and they've had past life regressions and everything else. And I've got people in my house that have had past life regressions and everything else. One of them was a pharaoh princess who was buried in the tomb. Those are subconscious things, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around all that stuff. I'm not where you're at, Mud Rabbit. I'm not where Leo's at, and I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow, and I'm sure as fuck not where Carl's at. Um, but in my comprehension of things is that whenever we try and use the reinvention or reincarnation idea is that we're trying to correct something that we were, and you're only going to add to your negativity because every single life makes mistakes. We all do shit that's seriously fucked up.
You're
And
gonna step on a bug.
If you think of it in terms of living in different dimensions at the same time, it makes sense because to us here we label them as past lives, but who's to say it's not a life that's being currently lived in another dimension?
And
well, in that case, I would have to go into the quantum timeline and say that we are all the creator, seeing his creation through different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So we have lived every single life that is there because we have access to it outside of this because we are part of the source and we are the people that we are facing.
Now
Every
you're starting to get it.
see, the thing is, now you brought up the love thing. Here's the thing: you can't love someone who's not lovable. The thing is,
You have to love the people that are not
no,
lovable.
but
That's the whole
you
point.
love unconditionally, but you have to know where those unconditional where that comes from. You have to know where it comes from to offer unconditional love. You
I
just
can
don't
only love
love
because
somebody.
I can only love because I've been loved.
Yeah, but you're going to be biting your teeth loving somebody you don't want to love. The guy that cut you off in traffic in that moment, you're not going to love that guy.
Yeah, and I'm one of the my kids have a serious problem with me screaming in the fucking car. They go, he can't hear you, but we do. So shut the fuck up. Because you're bitching at that guy, you're bitching at that guy, you're bitching at the other guy because they all fucked up because they're all incompetent drivers because none of them know what the fuck they're doing because they're all in service to self
Well,
and they don't
no,
give a shit about
I'm
anybody
saying
else. So I get pissed off. So yeah, I get you, but that's something that I am also
no, but
working.
I'm saying unconditional love, meaning the understanding of how you get what you get. Why that guy cut you off in traffic? That person didn't do anything to you. That's a reflection of you. That's a situation you got to work out. So
It
now
is
you
your perception of what happened.
differently because you recognize why he cut you off. He was helping you address an issue within yourself. That's where unconditional come is.
That would be if I looked at it as spiritual. That's something if I looked at it at a spiritual level and I saw that an angel made him cut me off because they knew I needed that lesson that moment. More than anything, it's him wanting to get where he wants to go and fuck anybody else, and I was just in the way. And my understanding of the multiple perceptions of the creator perceiving himself in his creation would be to where, right,
I
he
live
cut.
in South Florida. I'm over it. You just laugh and look at them go, let them go, and just
You,
say,
So
you
nope,
that
got
you
you
weren't
got
in that
grandkids. You
accident.
could give a shit. You already spent the time of screaming into traffic.
Right.
Dude,
No.
all right,
I've lived in
Angel, hold on.
Miami and now I live in Broward. I mean, my God, you've got all this melting pot here. I mean, you've got people in the left hand side of the turnpike doing 30 miles an hour. So
Oh my
what
God,
are you
So
gonna
nothing
do?
pisses me off more than that. Holy shit.
Nope,
so
you
one
just got to take it as it comes. I just make sure I have my iced coffee and my car is comfortable and the AC works. I'm good.
one thing you got to
Let it
realize:
flow.
everybody that you meet in your life is there to benefit, reflect. Yeah, it's a designed encounter for yourself and for them. All right,
Mm-hmm.
not just he cut you off so you could reflect on yourself, it's also he cut you off, and he also has to reflect on what he did. It may be a very
Oh,
brief reflection.
some of them don't even realize what they've done.
No,
I had a
And so,
cop tell
I'm not
me one
bringing.
time. I
I'm
had
not bringing up all that because of that. I'm saying I hear people throw the love thing, and when they say that, it's so empty to me. It has to have something behind that. It has to have something to it, and
I
that's what.
don't throw a love bomb at them. I just laugh at them.
Right, but I'm saying that love unconditionally comes from somewhere. Like with my wife, when we got married, we both agreed basically that we're not responsible for each other's happiness. That's
Right.
each person is. My happiness is on me. Her
Yep.
happiness on her,
Yep.
and we can work with that. I hear these people breaking up because you didn't make me happy. You're not
Hmm.
doing something to please me, but that's
Right.
Yours, the reality of my dad thought that he could make my mom happy.
right.
My mom thought that my dad could make her happy. She is still today at 60 some years old trying to figure out how to make herself happy. My dad is still trying to figure out who can actually make him happy.
which is so all of this,
So
all the
it
discussion.
goes back. See, my dad's was somebody who he thought at the time would make him happy, but he's not happy because happiness is from within, not from
And
without.
everybody's
We walk
definition of
through life.
happiness is different.
We walk through life doing this. This is how we do life. And that's really the number one thing to getting out of this duality is to stop doing this.
Yep.
Start doing
All
this.
I need to go there. That's my objective. I am going, and everything else can fall by the wayside because that is
So
my pathway. That
One
is my.
finger to there.
all of these
Oh, that's
discussions,
complaining about others. Yes.
all of these discussions
Got
have
one
one thing.
pointing. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers pointing back at you. Always
All of
reflect.
these,
Make sure
all
you're
of
not
these
being a dickhead.
discussions, all of
Go
these
ahead, Carl.
discussions have one thing in common.
Ah,
And
just take a chill pill.
no, it's foundation. First of
Yeah.
all, you everything to any situation, it's all foundation. First of all, the human race is never taught communication. Okay, we are taught extremely limited verbal communication and only verbal communication. You don't get into pheromones, you don't get into energetic fields, you don't get into spiritual awareness, you don't get into body reading, you don't get to any of that stuff unless you choose to specifically study those areas. So if you don't know how to communicate, you don't know what signs or signals that you're sending off. So everything goes back to that. The first 10 years of your life should be only communication. You learn how to communicate with yourself
No,
and
see,
with
the
others.
thing is,
Because
actually, the
we're
first 6 years.
interdimensional entities to begin with.
But Carl, the first 6 years of our life are focused on communication. Our brain
Verbal
focuses on
communication.
verbal, audio. But the problem is that our brain from 0 to 6 will absorb that which is around it. So it depends on the parents, the grandparents, the uncles, the friends, the ones that are around that child to teach that child what communication is. If the people teaching the
They're
child
ignorant as
don't
fuck.
know, they're not going to teach the child the deeper complexities of
So no
communication.
foundation. So
Yeah,
no
but you've
foundation.
also got the child. You've got to consider some children are more aware of their surroundings than others.
And then right and wrong has always been innate. At
Yes.
some point, you're going to have to experience bumping your leg, when to go across the street or not,
Hmm.
whether mama teaches you or not. Life is going to reflect back at you what you need. To me, it's not communication is important, but the number one thing is quiet and self awareness.
Yeah.
And most people don't have self awareness. They don't reflect back and go,
Introspection. The introspection. Nobody is introspective. Everybody's pointing the finger at they're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong. They should improve. They should change. They should be better. They should do this. They should do that. Everybody else should be better.
Yeah.
So
Well,
everybody's picking. So when you're a child and everybody's picking on you because you're different or you just don't understand them.
Both. Because I got both of those. Okay, why? Because they didn't understand me and I was different. And I also got all the criticism from 20 plus aunts and 15 uncles, plus 4 grandparents, plus 4 great grandmothers, plus my parents, plus aunts and uncles in the immediate, and all of them telling me, you have to do this, you have to behave this way. And I didn't grow up around other children. I grew up around adults, and adults, when they deal with children, don't deal with them as they do with other
Yeah,
adults.
my son grew up around adults for a long
All
time.
right, so Marby Jeter has a question.
Go
And she
ahead.
was like random thought, and I just want to answer this to her real quick. She goes,
All right.
how are there so many races in the world, but we're all part of the human race?
Well, that's time
Absolutely.
and melatonin.
Okay, so
Well, if you've
all
got
right.
different species within the animal kingdom, why would there not be different species within the human kingdom? I mean, come on, we're all mammals.
Well, how about another perspective that we could be a creation of 22 different genetic ET races?
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
that's-
You're going to
there's
go
also
there?
that
Oh,
possibility.
I
fuck
went
it.
there.
All right,
So-
Angel.
Well, actually,
All
But
right.
we all have the same root humanity. We all
No,
are
we don't.
in
No, we
this
don't. You
we're,
got
no,
the
we're in
Denisovian
this
man.
physical body. This physical body. It has 2 hands, 2 legs, a head.
Well, that's bipedal. That's
We're
also
human.
true on other planets.
We're human,
Human.
and we might be
Can I-
humans with different genetics.
Can I answer the question?
Go ahead.
All right. So, our energetic souls, everyone in the planet, every mammal in the planet, anything that lives over or anything that gestates over 32 days
Yep.
is part of God's soul.
Yep.
Okay. So we all have God's spark in us. Now, our physical creations, our physical avatars are different species from different races, from
Yep.
different planets. Okay.
But we're
So,
all
if
in
you
a
want to
human
use the word,
genome.
if you want to use the word extraterrestrial, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It just means that,
Not from
You know,
this earth.
right. So we are
Right.
all genetically engineered from different races. Caucasians are engineered from a specific race of aliens. Blacks are created from a different race of aliens. Mexican, Hispanic, however you want to go, it goes down the line. Asian,
It was
blah, blah,
my
blah.
understanding that there was a specific there was a specific template for a human, and it got used from various
Right.
various
There
races.
was,
They all
and
use the same template.
Well, it's
Right,
genetic
so-
modification. And we saw that. I mean, we see that in Greek mythology. We saw that as the fall of Atlantis because they fuck around with the genetics because they want to get in and they want to usurp and distort the original creation. And so we've got all of these creations come in afterwards to try and twist it up. Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours. So, yeah, we got 3 minutes. And we're almost on Anunnaki and everything else. So, oh yeah, we were doing the fist bump. So yeah, there we go, fist bump. James, thanks. Come back next time. We are, like I said, coming up on 2 hours. We've touched on a lot of topics. Any last words from everybody? Angel, give us your words, please.
We'll just let this rest.
All right, Carl, you got anything to add?
just remember, foundation of everything in this world is the toward field, which is sound. Everything is created from sound. So everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Contemplate that, folks. Think about it. Live it. And know that, these cycles, we're witnessing one of the amazing cycle in this timeline. And what is yet to come, going to be scary. But what comes after is what we're all waiting for.
It is going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. God bless everybody. Love you. And I will see you next week.
Thank you. Mud Rabbit, what you got to add?
What Carl said, absolutely. Everybody
All right.
have a wonderful week. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Absolutely. The only thing that I wanted to say that we are all from the toward field and sound vibrations. Remember,
And light.
God said, let there be light. It is his voice, it is his sound, it is his vibration through the holographic quantum filter that is Jesus Christ allowed us all to have free will, to have the reality of being able to see this creation from different perspectives. So thank you everyone for coming by. We had an active chat. It was fun tonight. I appreciate y'all. And next Tuesday, we'll definitely be on.
Much love, everybody.
Much love.